Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we are going to go over what happens when you stop talking to an avoidant, particularly if it's dismissive avoidant or fearful leaning, pretty dismissive. What starts happening to them? What are the stages right before they reach out or when they want to reconnect? And the very first stage is they actually tend to feel relief. And this is because they feel back in control, okay? They often associate relationships with loss of autonomy and control, and they feel like it's a barrier. So when that relationship is actually removed, regardless of who is the one who left, they start recognizing that, oh, I can be free again. I'm back to who I used to be. And they start reintroducing and re-reminding themselves of their original narrative, which is, I'm not meant to have anybody. This is great. This is who I'm supposed to be, right? Deep in their subconscious, their parents always kind of reinforce to some extent, you're not supposed to rely on anybody. You're not supposed to have feelings. You're not supposed to show your emotions. You're not supposed to care. You're supposed to be independent. Being anything other than independent or being attached to somebody is a weakness. And so they start feeling, okay, good, I'm back to my old self, my strength, my true self, right? They believe that this is who they really are, especially if there's a lot of conflict. And so what sometimes happens is they might start feeling even more relief when you're the one that stopped talking to them, right? And that's the main part of this video, right? You're the one who said, hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore. We're done. They start feeling even more relief because they start feeling like they don't have to endure that potential conflict if they were the one initiating that breakup. And so they feel very happy. So you might start seeing them behave as if though like they're walking on, like they're very happy. They're on cloud nine. They never needed you. That's what it starts to look like. And this is a lot of times where people might start thinking, oh, okay, this is proof that my partner never liked me. But that is not true at all, right? They're in their own fears and actually their own negative beliefs, their limiting beliefs. We call it limiting beliefs in psychology, where it's a belief that limits them from, it's a maladaptive strategy. It limits them from creating growth in themselves. It limits them from becoming more secure. And then what starts happening towards the end of this stage, going on to the second stage, is we start seeing during this time, they start believing or they start seeing who they were before the relationship, right? So they start believing this is who I am. But what starts happening is the comparison starts coming in. And they start comparing themselves to who they are now, which is different because of the relationship y'all had. And they start comparing that to the person they were. And they start realizing that no matter how much they try and fit in the mold of who they used to be, it doesn't fit anymore. They have changed because of you. And so what starts happening is they start recognizing and reflecting that they realize they're actually not the same person they were before they met you. And sometimes they might fight this with denial, but this is actually when it progresses to the next stage. So now we're on the second stage and we can see more constant reflection. They start to notice how you influence them. They start noticing your absence. Your absence is much more obvious now. They actually start wondering, why did you leave? Was it their fault? And this is why when you stop talking to them, this reflection starts happening even more. Both stages, the first stage is more prominent when you stop talking because they have even more freedom. They don't feel like they had to endure that conflict. But at the same time, this second stage actually becomes a little bit more prominent as well, more obvious, because they start wondering, wait, why did you leave? Like, maybe that relationship was a good thing. I liked it better than my previous self. So were you not happy? Is it something I did wrong? Is there something that I should have changed? They might even start reflecting on things that you used to tell them. Maybe you told them that you really wanted them to be more initiative, or you wanted them to be more romantic, and they start thinking about those things and they start thinking, maybe that's why you left. And because they're struggling so much to fit in their previous mold, what starts occurring is they actually start going very deep into their denial because they're still not ready yet. Otherwise, most likely, why did you leave? They're still struggling to battle their own wounds as well as their desire to be with you. And so what starts happening is that third stage is kind of where the numbing occurs, the denial, the feelings flood in, especially if they're struggling with depression. You might see them use a lot of those techniques that I talked about in the depression video on my second channel, right? Where they start using more numbing techniques such as substance use, such as overeating, or other maladaptive strategies, depending on the ones they typically use. Instead of facing those feelings directly and actually absorbing them and processing them, what they're actually doing is they're using numbing techniques, which avoidant individuals, particularly dismissive avoidants, they are very much a fan, unfortunately, of numbing techniques. I always tell my patients when I'm working with them that part of the reason why certain strategies cannot be replaced, such as substance use or any other behaviors that they have, it's hard for them to replace it with, let's just say, exercising or taking a walk or communicating, because avoidant individuals like to numb in general. When you're exercising, you're not numbing the emotion, you're releasing the emotion. They don't like that part because they don't want to process the emotion. So that's why it's very hard for avoidant individuals to actually heal a lot of these a lot of the depression or the substance use or any sort of other addiction they may struggle with, because they prefer numbing. And so sometimes what you have to do is you have to take these strategies in a multivariable approach. You have to allow them to get more comfortable expressing their feelings, which in general, this is how you would heal any sort of use disorders or anything like that. But it's much more important with dismissive avoidance because they will not take a replacement strategy until they start accepting their feelings, and they have to accept those feelings. And so what they start doing, now we're on to the fourth stage, is when they start numbing, it's not good enough because these feelings are so strong. Of course, they cared about you so much. Caring about somebody and loving somebody is a very powerful feeling. That's actually why avoidants avoid it so much, because they don't like to process their feelings. And loving somebody and losing somebody, those are one of the most powerful feelings that you can pretty much get, right? Loss, pain, love, these are very powerful feelings. And so they avoid them as much as they can simply because they are afraid to process feelings in general, and they're uncomfortable with the feeling of failure, which is going to come up in relationships. And so what happens is these numbing techniques that they use with typical emotions, it doesn't work as strongly for these particular emotions. So what they start doing is they start reaching out indirectly. They actually might keep tabs on you. They might watch your social media handles. They may ask friends about you. Some of them might even complain about you to other friends. They might talk about you. They might talk about you in a positive way. But you're starting to see that these techniques they're not working. At least not as much as they want. They're still talking about you. They're still thinking about you. They're still wondering what's going on with you. And they are keeping tabs on you. And then what happens is during this stage, sometimes people realize, okay, I can tell my partner, my ex, is talking about me, thinking about me, they're watching my handle. And sometimes you might reach out to them during this stage, and that works. Sometimes it works. They may reintroduce themselves back with you, or they might not be ready. It really depends on your partner, how much the healing process they are, how much they're okay with accepting themselves. But if this is starting to happen and you do reach out, you do have a chance that they're probably going to want to come back to be with you, even if they don't reply right away. But I see this a lot where somebody might reach out to their ex and their ex might see it, and it takes them a couple days for them to reintroduce themselves into your life. But let's say you did not do anything. You let them watch your social media handle, that you let them ask friends about you. What often happens next, which I think a lot of y'all know, is they actually reach out to you. They reach out. They may reach out just for friendship, though, and that's why it kind of comes a little bit tricky. If they just reach out for friendship, you may have to either accept that and slowly get back into a relationship. And I've made videos on friendships, like how avoidance friend zone you and how to get out of that. And you can look into that. But they might reach out for friendships because they just they're afraid that you're going to walk away again if you guys become romantic, but they also want you in their life. So that's kind of the way they strategize it. So if that happens, you can tell them, I would like a romantic relationship, and I just want to know if you've adjusted some things, because I also adjusted some things, and I think that maybe we can try it again so that I don't have to walk away, and I don't want to walk away. Something along those lines where you can make them feel more secure while still ensuring that both of you guys have done some healing, okay? I hope this video makes some sense. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.